Do you think that they ever used the song Panama in season 3?
What song, Panama, in season 3? I'm so sorry, I don't know it.
The Van Halen hit of 1983 or 90, Panama.
Is that the whole song?
Are we going to get sued now?
If Eddie Van Halen notices that we sang one word of his song, I'm going to be pretty chuffed.
Well, you will be because he passed 5 years ago.
Sorry, R.I.P. Van Halen.
But his lawyers, Alex Van Halen, his brother, or David Lee Roth, or I can't remember the Michael Anthony, the bass player. All right.
By the way, we mention Van Halen later in our Calistine Index when we get there, which I'm sure you knew, which is why you brought it up just now.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
yes, I did, of course. As I memorized.
Circular thing.
Kind of, it's an interesting episode, right? Like, action-packed, but also other stuff.
Yeah, I like the kind of two-hander scenes between Michael and Lincoln. I like the sense that after all the, like, action. I mean, it's kind of just the two of them on some boats and walking through the jungle.
Rolling around
in the jungle.
I like that for all the plot machinations of getting them ready for season 3. There's also a psychological shift between them, or like a dynamic shift, in that Michael is becoming impulsive. I mean, he's kind of driven crazy that he's feeling, and we've seen it in earlier episodes when their father died, etc. But the toll that this has taken so many bodies, and now Sara was going to join them. She sacrifices herself, and then Teabag is still out there, and it's driving Michael crazy. And Lincoln has become the voice of reason, saying, "Let go. We got what we wanted." You know, it's an interesting role reversal.
It is, and I mean, I think it brings up a lot of like, what are the ethics here? Is it the greatest good for the greatest number, or do you get to say, no, my brother's life outweighs the lives of the collateral debt? Like, you know, I like the return to ethics that this show, they do terrible things and then they go, hang on, we got to reckon with the fact that we did terrible things. And I like that. I like that a lot. I want to real quick. Okay, no, let's get to the index. Because also I think when you're doing the index, I think I was reading recap notes, some of which were wrong, because I feel like there was something about you in the recap notes. And were you in this episode?
No.
You were in the credits, but we missed you.
I'm not in I was not in this episode.
So I think there's an error.
Which confuses me. Is it possible this is a 23 episode season?
No, it's 22.
Okay. Huh. Because I know that I try to, and then I come to you to say, oh, right. That would be the same episode.
I think so. Okay. Anyway, Calistine Index.
Let's do the
and just to remind people, we do this index because this show aired a long time ago and things were different, but also some really weird things feel very similar. And so this locates us in the sort of moment in 2007. Everybody already knows that, Sara. Sorry. So episode 220, Panama, aired 2 weeks after 219, meaning we were off the air for a week for some reason. I actually couldn't figure out why. There were no like big world catastrophes, but as we're watching it, and I could see that parts of it were shot on that location in the south of Florida. I can't remember, but so they shot a lot of the beach stuff and the Panama stuff in southern Florida. And I wonder if they took that week off so that they had enough time at the end of the season. Anyway, that's my only guess. At any rate, Panama, this episode returned to the lowest rating of the season, actually, at 8.4 million live viewers. The competition in the time slot was different, with ABC airing the season 4 premiere of Dancing with the Stars. So it's possible that ate into viewers. Over at CBS, they were still running How I Met Your Mother, and NBC still had on Deal or No Deal in this 8 p.m. Monday time slot. Episode was written by Zach Estrin. It was directed by Vince Miziano, his second of eventually 3 episodes on the show. And in case we haven't mentioned this before, ratings are usually not a scorecard for a specific episode. They reflect more about like the opinion about previous episodes and what else was on that night and the audience's commitment to a show week to week.
Well put.
Thank you.
To recap episode 220, Panama, on the run, after the resignation of President Reynolds destroys any hope for a presidential pardon, Michael and Lincoln get in a ship headed to Panama and wait for Sara to join them. But is that she's not going to make it, or that was
that was the ship. That was like
both. For both. No, but bad news: Sara is arrested by the FBI. Mahone becomes obsessed with Schofield's plan and figures out that the brothers are headed to Panama because Kim tells him.
Yeah,
but internal affairs is hot on Mahone's heels. They cut a deal to put C-Note and his family in witness protection in exchange for testimony against Mahone. Running out of time to kill all the Fox River 8, Kim offers to help Mahone disappear if he finishes his mission and sends Mahone himself to Panama. Meanwhile, Teabag kills a prostitute who insults Mrs. Hollander and then narrowly escapes from Sucre and Bellick, who are after Westmoreland's $5 million. Sucre tries to get rid of Bellick, but is told that Mari Cruz is being held captive until Bellick gets his money. Just as Michael and Lincoln get to the boat Michael had put in place before being sent to Fox River, they get a message from Sucre on the secret website about Teabag, giving Michael pause about vanishing for good. Unbeknownst to the brothers, the message was actually sent by Mahone, who's clearly laying a trap.
And I was wrong in our preamble when I said I was wrong in the thing about including you. I got to say, writing these scripts, I'm going a little bit like Mahone with the
Mahone.
Yeah, I'm getting a little Mahone-like with my connected. Anyway, I'm going a little bit bonkers. In terrifying precedent news that sounds like an actual episode of Prison Break, on March 9th, the U.S. Justice Department released an internal audit that found that the FBI, which is of course where Mahone works, acted illegally in its use of the Patriot Act, which Mahone referenced in the show. The FBI had used, this is the real FBI, had used the act to secretly obtain personal information about U.S. citizens, including phone records, computer records, credit, and bank history. Fun stat, between 2003 and 2006, the FBI issued 192,499 unconstitutional subpoenas, which led to 1 terror-related conviction.
On the lighter side, in Losing My Religion news, on March 12th, REM was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Also inducted that year, Grandmaster Flash, the Furious Five, Patti Smith, and
Van Halen. Wait, I think it's Grandmaster Flash and the Furious
2 days
Five.
later,
isn't it one band?
Of course it is. Yes, of course it is.
I didn't know Van Halen, so we're good.
Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. 2 days later, March Madness kicked off at the University of Dayton. That tournament is the men's Division I college basketball championships, ultimately won that year by the Florida Gators.
Woot woot.
Okay. Wow. REM was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 20 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. I know.
We will be right back to talk about the episode.
We sure will. Hey, look, now we're back to talk about the episode.
Welcome back. Okay. Can I just give you some props for your incredible car work? I know you were saying during the rewatch, I loved driving that car. You did a very nice job driving it. Obviously, some free driving going on.
Yeah.
Love a free drive.
Yeah.
But also your call to, first of all, your series of calls with Michael are excellent. I love in the midst of tension, you know where I'm going with this, in the midst of all the tension, that there's some levity. It makes the warmth between you two so real. When you say, Michael Schofield, you're asking me to sail away with you in the sunset or something like that. It's such a lovely line, and it's delivered beautifully by you because, you're having fun with him and it's romantic. And of course it sets up her
not sailing,
falling on her own sword to let them get away, because she knows that if you say I'm not on the ship, I'm being pursued by the baddies, that he will hop off the ship to help. Right. So, and I love that that's not explained overtly, that it just is like, she knows, we know she knows, we know he knows she knows. And the work you did giving yourself up, saying goodbye to him, it was really beautiful. Aww. It's really good, understated, smart, really like
Thanks. Zach Estrin really understood that relationship. He wrote it really well, Michael and Sara.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember where you shot that? Because we were trying to figure it out. We're like, is this Florida? Is this Texas?
I never went down to Florida. So, you okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. I thought I did something stupid, but I didn't.
Yeah, I never went down to Florida. I was not in the contingent of people who went down and shot down there. So we shot that somewhere in Texas. Mm-hmm. That was someplace in Dallas, and I think they managed to comp it together so that it looked like it was on the waterfront, but it wasn't. Because one thing Dallas doesn't have is a waterfront, that's for sure. Yeah, I like those scenes. I said this on the rewatch, but I think there's something about both Michael and Sara and Michael and Lincoln where every time you see them sacrifice themselves for each other, you root for them a little bit more. Which is, I think, a part of the show's secret sauce, that these are people who genuinely, I think, care more about each other's safety than care about their own personal safety, which I think might be a pathology. Like, I don't know that it's healthy, but it is a kind of rabid devotion.
It goes also towards what we were talking about earlier about what's going on between the brothers. I mean, Michael, Lincoln is like, hey, nobody asked you to do this, dude.
100%.
And he's like, they were going to kill you. And he's like, maybe you should have let them. And he's like, take that back. Take that back is such an interesting thing to say, because it's basically saying all the people that died along the way have to be worth it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, Michael set this thing in motion, and, Veronica's dead, the person after person after person. Lost. And
no, go ahead, please. Finish your thought. Sorry.
No, please. No, that was it. That was my thought.
Okay. I would say, because we do this a lot, we talk about like, oh, he's the one who set this all in motion. And I would actually say that I don't think he's the one who set it in motion. I think the company are the ones who set it in motion, right? Like, if they hadn't picked Lincoln to be the patsy, like there's something that the show is doing that I have never questioned, but it's a little bit of victim blaming. Do you know what I mean? It's like, Michael, you're at fault for trying to break your brother out. Well, no, in theory, the people are at fault who incarcerated him in the first place. I mean, by which, I mean, you, Kellerman, are at fault. But I mean, I'm thinking of this in the context, and I know this is a weird parallel to draw, but I produce a show that's a podcast about domestic violence, and we've been talking a lot about how people ask the wrong question. Often women are asked, why did you stay? And I heard somebody on that podcast the other day say, that's the wrong question. The wrong question is, why did you stay in an abusive relationship? The right question is, why did he hit you? Leave the blame where the blame belongs. And I think it's interesting that all these years, through all these conversations and all these scenes, it never once occurred to me when I see this Michael and Lincoln thing of, oh my God, there's so much blood on my hands because I let Teabag out, because I was so selfish about saving my brother, that it's like, well, wait a minute. The blame belongs with Kim and Kellerman and the company.
Well, okay. Yes, but if I can push back on that a little bit, I don't have an analogy that works with the domestic violence thing. That's a very interesting.
We can leave that. That's fine.
Well, now, is that Michael decided to do something about it. But part of doing that thing about it was duping Sara. Let's just start with that one.
Yes.
Like, part of his plan was suckering this woman and getting her to do something illegal that put her career in
100%.
jeopardy. Period.
Yes.
Full stop.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's not Kellerman and
Well, no, but I think it doesn't go far enough back to why they're in this mess in the first place. They're not in this mess in the first place because Michael decided to break his brother out of prison. They're in this mess in the first place because somebody decided to set up that. Anyway.
Okay.
It's just a new thought. That's all.
I agree.
We also had a conversation. Okay, so the C note and Mahone of it all, I think, is really interesting. Because essentially what Mahone says to Kim is, all I want is my wife and my son. That's all I've wanted from the beginning. Which is exactly what C note gets.
And he says, do you see my wife? Do you see my son? It's so great.
It's fantastic. I mean, first of all, Billy's work in this whole episode. I love...
Yeah, he really gets to
he does. I mean, his work in that scene with Wheeler is fantastic.
In the parking garage?
In the weirdly green lit parking garage.
Uh-huh.
I mean, broader scale, I like that there is, in a show that is so restrained, I like it when people get genuinely angry because so many people are so restrained in this. Michael Lincoln and Mahone all kind of blow up. But you had a question, and I realized I don't know really the answer. I know we'll figure it out in the next couple of episodes. If this is a real escape for C-Note and his family, because I believe it's Cynthia's last episode on the show. We don't see them again.
I think it is.
I think they...
If he's not in 3, then it is. And you said he comes back
I know
in
he's in 4. I don't know if he's in 3. I don't...
We're going to start getting into it. It's going to be interesting what our listener and watchers start to think of our
ignorance,
complete fall off of Prison Break knowledge after we're off the show. Are they going to be like, you sons of...
Oh, we both have very good reasons for not having watched season 3. We'll get there, but I think it's okay. I was a brand new mom. Okay. And you had another job. It's okay.
I was a TV doctor.
It's hard to be a TV doctor.
Yeah. It was also it was enough. Yeah, it was, yes. But I wish I had better knowledge of the...
yeah, and I mean, we did talk to Cynthia about how they didn't invite her back for anything, which is weird.
Right.
We, by the way, have not had much time for fan questions in a long time. So I have a few, and I do want to get to them because we always run out of time. Okay. So if you've got other stuff to talk about, let's talk about them. Did love the intimacy of the Michael and Lincoln stuff. It was really cool to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after.
And I love that we may have our first happy ending.
Yeah. It was moving to see the Franklin family.
The thing where he stops and turns around and the bars are in front of him.
It's a cool moment, hey, where he's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Also, the return of Kim Coates was lovely.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting. Some of my favorite scenes, well, not favorite, but it was a really well-rounded top to bottom cast. I really liked Barbara's work in this. Watching her watch Mahone go full Beautiful Mind was kind of wonderful. Okay, buddy. There was a gentleness and a restraint in that lays a groundwork for future things with them that I dig. Yeah.
And we get the general's first words.
Yeah. On a dinghy.
On a boat. Lots of boats.
A little rowboaty
correct nautical
dinghy
usage.
Thing.
Correct nautical
all right.
usage.
Listen, we actually talked a lot about this episode on the rewatch itself. Rather than trying to come up with things to say here, let's do some fan questions. Because we always run out of time. So let's take a quick break. And
Okay.
let's come back with fan questions. Okay.
Great.
Okay. A word about this week's fan questions. This week's fan questions are from our Discord community. Something really beautiful is happening over there that we have nothing to do with. So folks who join our Patreon community have access to this private Discord server where they talk about the podcast and they talk about the show and they make community with each other. And they've started co-authoring fan fiction, which is totally bonkers. Like they just like send it around and everybody writes a little piece of it. They're doing watch parties for the watch parties. So our watch party episodes, they like get together and watch them live together, which is incredible. And they're like generally being awesome to each other. It's really cool. So they also created a section of this Discord. I don't really know much about Discord, but like a sub Discord. It's probably not a thing. For fan questions. So these fan questions are all from our amazing Discord community. And I'm going to start with this one from Rachel24601. If Sara had not escaped from Kellerman, if he hadn't been canceled by Kim, would he still have had the identity crisis that ultimately leads him to redemption? Obviously, that arc doesn't play out specifically in this episode, but like, what do you think about that? I read that question when I was writing this up today, and I was like, oh.
That's a very interesting question. I would say, well, just to analyze the first part of that question, if Sara had not escaped from Kellerman, that means he would have killed her.
Dead.
So I would like to think, yes, that would have pushed him over. That even if he had gone through with that horrible act, that what he's learning from Caroline Reynolds' ascension to the presidency and control by the company is that he is expendable, but also that I always thought of her and her political career as his kind of North Star, that he believed in the country and he believed she was the best thing for the country, and those two things aligned. That when she becomes compromised, when he starts thinking she's in it for the wrong reasons, or she's willing to abandon her own principles for what the company wants and not what the country needs, I think that is one of the seeds for his kind of come to Jesus. And then Sara is obviously a big part of it, and Kim erasing him is a big part of it. But I think without the Kim erasing part, it still would have reached a crisis point, because I don't think he could have been her ride or die all the way into the evilness. I think he was starting to have trouble. I think from the moment he kills Danny, it's kind of a matter of time.
I mean, there's something cool about that in this episode, bringing that up in this episode too, because it's a little tiny bit of what happens to Mahone, which is he sees himself in Wheeler and kind of decides, okay, I'm going to face the music. I'm going to get prosecuted. I'm going to go to jail. But rather than trying to kill Wheeler, I mean, maybe there's just no point in that because Wheeler's a part of a larger machine. But it feels a little bit like he's decided to stop running and face his future. And then Kim comes in and goes, no, I've got a way out for you. I think that's the pivot in the scene, I think.
Oh, I see. So it's, dude, you've reached the end of the road. I've reached the end of the road. I'm done. He's tearing all the shit down. He's like, I'm done with this. And then Kim comes and says, a way out is if you double down, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like, I'm going to prison, and I'm not going to kill Wheeler at the door. I'm not going to try and take this kid down with me. Instead, I'm going to give him some advice that I wish somebody can, blah, blah, blah. But it's interesting because I think in that sense, both Kellerman, Michael, and Mahone all end up with a line in the sand that ultimately they won't cross. And it's hard, and they've got to face things in themselves. But what separates them from someone like Teabag is Teabag never really hits that line. Yes, he doesn't kill Mrs. Hollander and her kids. But, I mean, I don't think we give him props for that, right? Like, Teabag doesn't have that line. And I think it's kind of interesting because as the show goes on, we just keep piling up bad guys. But now we're sort of separating the bad guys by, like, moral compass. And it's like, well, Kellerman recognizes that he got to be a part of something terrible and tries to take steps to fix it. Now, putting a rifle scope on a president isn't necessarily everybody's way of fixing things. I'm not condoning. But, it's interesting that both he and Mahone at a certain point are like, yeah, I got to stop. I can't remember what that's called. Throwing good money after bad.
Good money after bad. The next thing we see Kellerman do, pretty much, I think the next thing is he tries,
I think so. Yeah.
And that seems directly, we'll talk about it next time, but directly inspired, if that's the right word, motivated by Reynolds stepping down.
Mm-hmm. Everything I've given my life to.
He has no, like, it's as if he killed her. I mean, it's.
Oh, interesting.
She's done. I mean, what was he going to do? I mean, he says to his sister, I'm going to do something no one's going to understand. I mean, I think the implication there is that after he did that, he was probably going to do himself in.
I would imagine.
And so, to a certain degree, it's almost like a continuation of that plan.
Interesting. I'm going through with this part of it, even though step A didn't succeed, I'm going to step B.
But step A did succeed. I mean,
that's true.
Right.
She's out of office.
Step A, but she's out of office.
Right.
I don't know. We'll have to think about that one.
Yeah, we'll see. Some of these questions have to do with the show and some of them don't, but I sort of like them all anyway.
Okay, I got one from Rachel 24601 as well.
What's that?
Obviously, the Michael Sara romance is not as central to the story as some would wish. The question is, what choices would have been different for Sara in the series if she hadn't fallen in love with Michael? Does she leave the door open? Rachel 24601 thinks yes. Would she meet him in Gila? Does she work with the gang of outlaws of season 4 to take down the company? Are these all things that is part of her romantic entanglement with him? Does there become an ethical entanglement with him where she believes in the good works that he's doing? What do you think about that?
I don't know that this is going to be a popular answer, but I can only imagine that as a physician in a facility that has a death row, and as somebody who is intelligent and informed, that they are putting innocent men to death. You might not know which ones, but if you have been paying any attention to the American criminal justice system and the differential justice that is meted out particularly in capital cases, in capital murder cases, I imagine you have at some point, because they never say this is the first time Sarah's been a part of a death penalty case, right? There's nothing in season 1 that I can remember that's like, oh, I've never actually had to be here through this before. So giving the files to her dad, fighting for clemency, I buy all of it. I think Michael is right in his assessment that her feeling profoundly emotionally invested in him is a key component to her leaving the door open.
What about the giving the files and the appeal to clemency? Do you think that
No,
has to do with
no,
that?
no. I think you do that one way or another. I think the thing that she did was to break the law by leaving the door open for him to escape. I don't think she does that.
Okay.
Unless some part of her feels compelled by something other than logic. And for what it's worth, I think the writers know that too, because otherwise the gender of the doctor doesn't matter. Otherwise, you're just appealing to the conscience of a good person, right? Like, it could have been a male doctor, and this isn't about I'm seducing him. This is about I'm laying out my case, and I'm compelling him through the power of my argument. But that's not what it is. It's I'm taking.
But that wasn't the plan, was it?
No, the plan was to seduce her, and I think that's because he knows that.
Oh, it was.
Oh yeah, 100% from day one. From day one. From day one. It's the whole thing about like, oh, maybe we met out at a bar, drunk someplace. Like, I think that was always the play. What the problem was that he actually fell for it too. And
right.
And they got stuck like that. So, would Sara join their efforts to try and do the right thing in season 4? By the time the company has killed her father, I think we're in different territory. But in terms of that initial decision to leave the door open, I don't think she leaves the door open if she doesn't.
What about meeting him in Gila? What about the Gang of Outlaws season 4 to take down?
Well, there's no meeting him in Gila if she doesn't leave the door open, because Lincoln's dead, and he's still in prison. I think it all starts.
Right.
I think it's all right there, because after that, there's that whole sequence of events, and her dad gets killed, and all those things. I do think at the point at which they kill her father, she has less to lose.
Yes, she's going to get some.
Yeah. But in terms of committing that first crime, I don't think she does it if she doesn't love him. And I don't think that's going to be a popular answer. I think people would probably like to believe that like she's a good and moral person. But I think you can be a good and moral person and go to work in a facility like Fox River and recognize that like there are going to be profoundly unjust state-sponsored killings here. And that's part of the job.
Ugh, God. Oh,
Smoky Dokes. Okay. This is just a little bit of like write yourself some fan fiction, but I like this question. Stephanie wanted to know, how do you think Kellerman would have explained that burn to the ER doctor? So,
it's very easy.
What do you mean it's very easy? Tell me, how is it very easy?
What do you mean? He's in a big hurry. He's got a very important meeting or event. He's ironing.
While the shirt's on him?
No. Oh.
I just don't have time to iron my shirt, so I'm just going to iron it.
I tried to iron it while it was still on my body. It was so stupid. No, I think it's the I mean, I think he's ironing.
And then what?
In his shirt. He slipped and it fell and hit him in the chest.
I really prefer I was in.
Just fix me. Just it hurts.
I prefer the idea that he was in too much of a hurry to take the shirt off. Like he just decided to iron it while it was still on.
He was driving. He plugged it in the car. He was very late, and he got in a slight fender bender, and it jammed.
I hate it when you're driving and ironing at the same time. Stephanie, thank you for that question. That was genuinely delightful.
Okay, I got a good one. Rafarer, Rfarer, says, because they are a complete theater nerd.
Oh.
They want to know your top 3 musicals.
Okay, I want you to answer this afterwards.
Wow.
Oh,
really has nothing to do with the show.
Oh, wait a second. I just realized I have to close that out. It has nothing to do with the show, except I think it's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
I'm not so great at musicals or questions like this. Rent is number one. I was in hysterics the first time I saw Rent.
Like laughing or
sobbing.
crying?
Like sobbing. Because the first person who I ever really knew that died of AIDS, and it was horrible. Not just the disease, but the way that like he and his partner were treated and blah, blah, blah. But also Jonathan Larson, who wrote it. Every year, my university has a summer program where they invite people up from New York City to be in residence. And the summer before Rent came out, Jonathan Larson had come up to workshop the show. And so all these people that I went, like I wasn't there that year. All these people in my theater program knew him. And so when Rent came out, there was this whole giant explosion of interest. Yeah. And then, of course, for those of you who don't know, Jonathan Larson died of a heart attack the night before opening night when Rent took over the world and like became this massive musical. So Rent would definitely be on the list. I do really like Hamilton. I do. I'm sorry. I know that's kind of basic. Well, because it's kind of basic. I never saw the producers. I never saw Urinetown. I heard they were both fantastic. Oh, Avenue Q. Avenue Q is one of the funniest, most irreverent things that I've ever seen, and I saw it live in New York. How about you? Favorite musicals?
Speaking of basic, I'm gonna go West Side Story, Guys and Dolls, Les Mis.
Oh, Les Mis. Les Mis is having a moment. It's having a big moment with the youth.
My brother, who is not a musical theater person, not a theater person, he's not that guy. He studied abroad when he was a junior in college. I was a junior in high school, and we went to visit him in London, where he was studying over Christmas break. And my brother, who is not a musical guy, was like, I got us all tickets to go see this musical. And we were like, you did what? And we sat in like the second row and watched Les Mis. He had seen it. And he was like, you're not going to friggin' believe this.
London Les Mis.
And the original, like it had just opened.
Holy smokes.
And it was like, oh my God. I had no idea what I was getting into, one of those things. It was
amazing. It's got an interesting Hawaii connection, actually. They hire a lot of young Hawaii actors. Okay, wait, I got one for you here. This is interesting. This is also R. Ferrer or Rafarar. I apologize, dude. If your characters from season 4 or 5 could give the season 1 version some advice for everything they would go through, what do you think Paul would say? If Kellerman had a time machine and could go back.
Oh my God.
It's a good question, right? My bangs are driving me nuts.
I mean, I think he would say, you got to be done with Carolyn Reynolds now.
Walk away.
I think walk away. I think you're the time to get off this train before it does you damage, because you've been a good soldier, but it's going the wrong way.
And then what does he do?
And you don't see it.
Like,
yet.
Do you just quit the Secret Service?
He ends up in, he does end up being a congressman.
That's true.
And then working in intelligence, right? After season 5. So, he still wants to serve his country and
lateral move out of the company's watch. And, being congressman is interesting. To like mount a political career that runs against her is kind of fascinating.
Right. Yeah. He knows where all the bodies are buried.
I have a question for you. I have a question for Paul. Yeah. If you woke up tomorrow morning and Paul Adelstein from 2030, 5 years hence, was standing at the foot of your bed and gave you advice.
Oh boy.
Would you take it?
I don't know.
I'm saying, like,
how's he look? Does he feel compos mentis?
He's fully compos mentis.
He got his shit together?
He's fully compos mentis, and he says to you something wild, like, you have to move to Slovenia. Trust me. I don't have time to explain.
Yes.
You do it. You drop everything, and you do what future Paul Adelstein tells you to do. Can you imagine what if future Paul Adelstein told me to move to Slovenia? I
What are you telling me for?
I was like, do you want me to call Paul real quick?
Wait.
What's actually going?
Before we get off onto that, which is pretty great. If season 4 or 5 Sara showed up to talk to Dr. Tancredi.
Season 1? 100%. This one I think is actually.
What would you?
It would be go get the tape that's in Warden Pope's box at the Cigar Club right now. Make copies, give it to your dad. Like there's
very practical.
Well, Sara has the ability to head this whole thing off at the pass.
But it's not don't fall in love with don't fall in love.
I mean, he's got 5 years. Like, you've got 5 years to like soft date the guy. He's coming in for shots every week. Do you know what I mean? Like, see how it's going.
Yeah.
See if you can get it.
Wow. Things must be thin. Things must be pretty thin in Sarah's
Have you seen the people who show up at her NA meetings? Like, all she's getting offers is,
Bellick.
Do you want to go to the Sizzler off the interstate? 100%. I think she knows that she's got a good one.
Yeah.
She just needs to wait 5 years for him to, do his time. I think we have a question.
Okay.
What's that?
And then to your question, if Sara Wayne Kalish showed up in 2030, stood at the foot of your bed and goes, "Hey, dude, Slovenia now." What would
I would probably get so in my head about it. I'd be like, well, is she like a clone sent by my arch nemesis who I've never met, who's trying to get me to just, I don't know. I would probably find some reason to stick to the status quo in my life and not drop everything and move to Slovenia because that feels like a lot.
It's really making me anxious, that question.
I'm so sorry. Okay, my computer is about to die, so I think we've got time for one more question. Let me see.
Let's try it.
Well, Jordan asked a question. I'm not sure if we can answer this, but if Westmoreland didn't die and had somehow joined the escape, how do you think Michael would have eventually gotten the information from him regarding the missing money? Do you think someone would have found out about the missing money?
I don't understand.
Had they seen who Westmoreland is on the news? Well, I think it's an interesting question, which is Jordan's making a good point, which is that all of season 2 hinges on Westmoreland divulging to Michael where the money is. And had they gotten out, all of them together, Westmoreland might not have done that, or might have said,
right. Well, he may have needed some help to go. He may have needed some help to go get it.
That's true. But I like it when fans point out that the show is supposed to be about events that, like, if you change one of those events, everything falls apart. And that I think is the good one to point out.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fun one.
So we still have way more of these. We will get back to them.
Yeah, we'll do them
shortly.
We'll do them next time.
So yeah, thank you everybody for being with us today.
Yeah.
As always, we invite you to check out our watch party episodes and the Discord community and all that stuff. You can do that on the link in the show notes wherever you're listening or watching right now, or on the bio.
It's true.
Instagram.
It's true. Yep,
Yeah.
Also true. Did you know that Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul was brought to you by Caliber Studios?
I did know that your hosts have been inmates Sara Wayne Callies and Paul Edelstein.
But did you know that our producer Warden is
our producer Warden? That's what I'm going to call him from now on.
Yeah.
Our yard Warden. Cutter is editor Luke Singer.
Wow. And the front man of the rock band is Paul Edelstein,
who has not yet been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but we're expecting him to join Van Halen any moment now. Our prison yard tattoo artist, logo, and brand designer is John Nunziato at Little Big Brands. Check them out at www.littlebig.brands.com.
And follow the show on YouTube and Instagram at Prison Break Podcast. Email us at pbpodcast@caliber-studio.com.
And Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul has been a Caliber Studio production. Thank you for listening. Please be good to each other in difficult times.
Yes.
Bye, y'all.
See you next time. Break.